My daughter-in-law once sent a message that said, "We've all agreed you're no longer part of this family." I didn't cry. I documented. That same night, I found my name missing from their house contract, but my bank ID still there. That was the moment I stopped being quiet. The real story began when I brought sunlight to their lies. The sky over Baton Rouge hung heavy that evening, clouds swollen with the promise of rain. I parked in front of Declan and Bryony's neat suburban house, the kind with fresh mulch and solar lights tracing the walkway. The air was damp enough to curl my hair, and I could smell someone grilling 2 houses down, balancing the lemon pound cake I'd baked that morning. I practiced my line under my breath. "I brought the cake your daddy liked." It was an old habit, rehearsing kindness before stepping into a room that didn't always have space for it. When Bryony opened the door, the bright ring light behind her nearly blinded me. Her makeup was flawless, her phone perched on a small tripod by the counter. "Oh, hey, Mama Zelma, you can set that somewhere," she said, already half turned toward her phone. Declan trailed behind, shirt untucked, smile thin. "Hey, Mom," he murmured, eyes darting toward his wife. The dining table was filled with friends, her friends, and I felt their polite curiosity land on me like drizzle. My name card was taped to a folding chair shoved near the trash bin, right between the recycling bags and a cabinet that smelled faintly of bleach. I froze for half a breath, then smiled the way women my age are trained to, soft, small, unbothered. "We're tight on space," Bryony chirped. "Hope you don't mind." I placed the cake down, straightened my back, and took my seat by the trash. "Dignity," I whispered, "isn't about where you sit." The conversation swirled with talk of new phones, daycare rates, and gas prices. I joined when I could. "You know," I said lightly, "my old Buick gets better mileage than most hybrids." A few chuckles. Bryony leaned in, bright smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Declan and I are learning to stand on our own. Feels good not depending on anyone." Her friends nodded like a choir. I folded my napkin and said quietly, "Standing's easy when the floor's already sturdy." The laughter thinned. Declan reached for his drink. Talia ran past, waving a book I'd wrapped for her. "Later, baby," I said, "me," and she grinned before disappearing down the hall. After dessert, I found Declan by the hallway. "Can we talk tomorrow? Just 5 minutes about the bills." His shoulders tensed. "Mom, Bryony's got it covered. We're fine." "Sweetheart, it's about the auto payments." I tried again. He kept his voice low. "Not tonight, okay?" Then he slipped back into the crowd. The dishwasher hummed, the sound swallowing the silence between us. I stood there a moment, then let it go. Some conversations are already over before you start them. I left early. "Y'all take care," I called, waving from the doorway. Bryony was on her phone, live streaming. "Hey friends, we're wrapping up family night," she said to her followers, voice sugar sweet. Outside, the air felt cooler. I sat in my car, the glow from their window fading against the fogged glass. I dialed Declan. 1 ring, then voicemail. His recorded voice. "Hey, Mom, can't talk right now." I waited for the beep. "Call me tomorrow, baby. We'll make a list. I'll bring coffee. Black, the way your daddy taught you." Rain began tapping on the windshield, a slow rhythm that matched my pulse. I drove home through quiet streets, headlights slicing through mist. Inside my kitchen, I set the empty cake pan in the sink and wiped the counter twice. A small ritual to calm the edges of my thoughts. My phone buzzed. A new photo in the family chat. Bryony, Declan, Talia, and 2 friends posing by the table, all smiles. Caption: "The core." 4. I stared until the words blurred. No cake, no chair near the trash, no me. My reflection in the dark screen looked older than it should. "We'll see about that," I murmured. The group pinged again. Another photo, another laugh. I silenced the chat, exhaled slow, and turned off the light. The morning felt heavier than it should have, the kind of gray sky that didn't promise rain, just silence. I brewed my coffee black, the way my late husband liked it, and stood by the window watching the streets stay empty. Baton Rouge on a Sunday morning always had that stillness. Quiet cars, church bells far off, a dog barking once, then quitting. I rinsed last night's cake pan, wiped the counter twice, and opened the paper to the power company's warning about winter hikes. My phone buzzed on the table. Family group chat. The words made my stomach clench the way bad weather does. I tapped the screen. The core four. T. Pictures everywhere. Bryony with her perfect smile. Declan holding Talia close. Everyone lit by that same ring light glow. My chair by the trash, cropped clean out. My name? Not even tagged, I whispered. If they can leave you out in pictures, they can leave you out in plans. My mother used to say that when someone forgot her birthday. I saved each image into a folder I named Receipts, Family. The title looked too sharp on my phone, but I kept it. You stay calm, Zelma, I told myself. Calm women win quiet wars. Scrolling brought the sting sharper. Bryony posted. Built it all ourselves, blessed and busy. Another read. The core four, nothing stronger than family. I looked at Declan's grin, his arm wrapped around Talia like protection. But protection from who? I counted 21 photos, cake slices, candles, even the thrift vase I'd lent them. Not one had me. I wanted to laugh, but it came out as a breath instead. All right, Zelma, I muttered, don't beg folks to see you. People know what they know. I took note of who liked each post, who commented, family goals. My hands flattened on the table. If love is a book, I said to the quiet room. Someone's been erasing lines. A ping came from a cousin in Shreveport. Auntie Z thought you'd be there last night. I typed. I was. Then stopped. She replied, you good? And added, a heart. I wrote, I keep my peace and my paperwork. That ended it. For a second, I thought about leaving a polite comment under Bryony's post. Something like, beautiful night. But my mother's voice came clear as day. Don't argue in public, baby. Keep your receipts. So I saved every post, every comment without saying a word. Restraint isn't weakness. It's armor. At church, the parking lot shimmered with puddles. Deacon Walter tipped his hat. Morning, Miss Zelma. Doing all right? I'm upright and grateful, I said, inside. I lit a candle for my husband. Keep me still. Not small. My friend Thelma squeezed my hand. Holidays stir up old hurts. They do, I said. But old hearts heal slower, not weaker. When the choir sang, I didn't cry. I hummed. That was enough. Back home. I opened my yellow legal pad labeled Household, December under Utilities. I wrote each account I'd covered for Declan and Bryony, water, internet, HOA dues. I did the math carefully, pen steady, then listed my own. Pension, church tithe, groceries. The numbers gave me peace. Numbers never lie. I slipped a note into an envelope marked Declan, January plan. Inside, just one line. Call me. We'll go over utilities, together or apart. I took a photo of it, dated it, filed it in receipts. Family. Later that afternoon. I checked the family chat again. They'd renamed it officially. The Core Four. A digital lock closing. The new banner was a collage. Bryony's arms open, Declan beside her, the child in the middle. A slogan under it read, Us against the world. My throat went tight. I ain't mad, I said aloud. I'm mindful. I screenshotted the rename. Not for revenge, for record. I drafted a message. Family isn't a membership, it's attendance. But deleted it. I let silence do its job. The porch swing creaked under me as I finished my coffee. A neighbor waved. How you doing, Miss Zelma? Blessed and busy, I said back. I thought about calling Declan, but no. A one-way conversation never changes its direction. If you can't meet me with respect, I whispered, meet me with silence. I checked my Tuesday note. Review auto payments? Not yet. Control was my discipline now. A small message blinked, Talia on her tablet. Grandma, did you like the cake? I smiled. I did. I saved you a slice. The 3 dots blinked, then vanished. Probably filtered by her mama. I wrapped a piece in foil, wrote tea, lemon cake, and tucked it in the freezer. A promise kept cold. Night fell. I logged into my laptop, mirrored my receipts folder, labeled files by date. I checked which accounts were shared, which were mine. No action yet. I wrote a sticky note. Let's review bills. Choose a day. Control comes from order. I whispered to the dark. Keep records. Keep calm. Keep your lights on. When the phone pinged again, I didn't rush. A preview glowed. Bryony's name. I turned the phone face down. When they show you where they stand, I told the empty room. Stand on your own floor. The kettle started to sing. Outside, wind lifted the moss like a curtain waiting to fall. The phone lay face down on the table like a secret I wasn't ready to claim. I flipped it over, and Bryony's message opened wide on the screen, black text against a white glow. We've all agreed you're no longer part of the family. Don't come to any gatherings. My thumb froze halfway to reply. The kettle still hummed behind me. The clock ticked steady, both pretending the world hadn't just changed. I whispered, "All right then," the same tone I'd used when the doctor once told me bad news. Measured, final, I pressed save, not send. There would be no shouting tonight, only records. For a long moment, I just listened to the room breathe. The tea hissed, soft and constant. I poured, watched the steam rise like a sermon. Quiet, corrective, holy. My hand trembled, then stilled as I set the mug down on its coaster. I wiped a single ring of water from the counter. The small control mattered. The old saying echoed from my mother's lips. Don't argue in the street, keep your receipts. I opened my screenshots folder and saved the thread, each line preserved with timestamps. No tears came. I had none to waste. I started to type, then stopped. Draft 1. Family is a verb. Check yours. Deleted. Draft 2. Thank you for confirming. Saved for later. Draft 3. We'll handle this like adults. Also saved. Declan's blue thumbs up on her message burned harder than the words themselves. Betrayal had gone digital. Neat, silent, permanent. I saved every unsent line in a folder called Notes. Unsent, dated and secure, I said softly. When the road narrows, walk straighter. The phone rang. I jumped before I saw the name. Ruth Ann Pike. Her voice came brisk. No small talk. Zelma? You got a minute? Something's moving in one of your shared accounts. My back straightened. Moving how? Not big, just clever, 'cause small transfers, 2 at a time, end of month. I grabbed a pen and wrote each date, each amount, every memo line she read off. Don't tip your hand, she warned. Come in Tuesday morning. Bring your ID and statements. I exhaled through my nose. Thank you. Baby, the Lord loves a truthful ledger. When the call ended, I stood by the hallway window. The street outside glowed under thin streetlights. Moss hung still, like the world was waiting. I thought of Talia, just 9, too young to be anyone's shield. The child won't carry adult furniture on her back, I said aloud. I turned my phone to Do Not Disturb, let the hum of my house take over again. Keys, wallet, file folder labeled Legacy already. Tuesday was circled red on my calendar. A door waiting to open at my desk. I powered up my laptop. I made a folder. Family_thread_2023. Q4. Inside it, I built smaller homes. Texts, screens, bank_tips. I exported the entire chat as a PDF. File name stamped with date and time. I typed a log, 6:42 p.m. Message received. Removal stated. Gatherings barred. Son liked. Then I photographed the envelope addressed to Declan. Front and back, added it to the record, printed everything, and slipped the copies into my legacy binder. The keys clinked softly in the dish when I locked the drawer. Order was armor. Paper was prayer. By 9. I sat again at the kitchen table, my tea cold but still full. I drafted one final sentence. No anger, no plea. Thanks for confirming. Then another. I'll cancel all the auto payments. Timing, I reminded myself, was its own form of power. I penciled a note. Tuesday, 9 a.m. Meet Ruth Ann. 10:15. Review utilities. My body remembered calm. My spine remembered height. Truth doesn't need thunder, I whispered. Just daylight. I turned off the lights and let the fridge hum its low song. My husband's photo hung above the bed, his steady eyes catching mine. "You taught me the math," I said, voice low but sure. The phone glowed once more, dots flickering in the family chat, another message trying to rise. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The message hadn't ended anything. It had simply marked the start of my ledger. Morning came slow and gray. The rain had rinsed the world clean, but not the part of me that still burned. I poured my coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. The homepage lit up with Bryony's face, thumbnail bright, words louder than truth. How we bought our first home, no help, just hustles. Oh, I blinked once, twice. "Well, butter my biscuit," I muttered, clicking play with a steady finger. The ring light framed her like a crown. Declan holding up house keys as if they'd forged them from sweat alone. The upload time read 11:47 p.m., right after the Core 4 post. I pressed save to my receipts, family folder, and took my pen. No outrage, just timestamps. Bryony's voice filled the room, sweet and performative. We worked so hard, every dime, every night, just us. Behind her sat my loaned vase, the same one from my wedding table, catching light like it still believed in love. I wrote, 122, claims full payment from own savings. Declan nodded in rhythm, repeating, "We did it all ourselves." I underlined ourselves twice. Their kitchen counters gleamed. The same counters I'd paid to resurface when their contractor fell through. #selfmade glared across the screen like a slap. I muted the volume and stared at the reflection on their stainless steel fridge. My checkbook cover, brown leather, initials, ZG, peeked clear in the corner. "Don't argue with a mirror," I whispered. "Frame it." Screenshot, saved. I turned to my yellow pad and wrote the truth in clean ink. Utilities, HOA dues, insurance gap, down payment remainder, plumber fee, each with check numbers, dates, and transaction IDs. Ruth Ann's call echoed in my ear. Small transfers, not large ones. Clever, quiet thefts. I resisted the urge to text Declan. Silence is where grown women sharpen their clarity. I pulled the legacy binder close, touched the tab marked house, Vance, and said, "Family can borrow love, it can't pawn facts." By noon, I'd composed 3 drafts. The first, nice video, incomplete story. The second, let's balance the ledger, both saved and unsent. I fixed lunch, leftover gumbo, still warm, and told myself, feed your body before you feed a fire. I took small bites, slow and calm. That's what my husband taught me when anger felt too big. Chew until the feeling changes shape. After dishes, I printed bank statements, line by line. I matched their video timeline to my deposits. Everything lined up like a confession they'd filmed themselves. I highlighted the memo for Declan's closing and stapled the page to the inspection invoice I'd covered when their card was down. I attached photos from their housewarming, the vase, the keys, the smiles, and dated each file. On top, I wrote a single title, Timeline of Support for Personal Records. The phrase steadied my hand. If you can't say it kindly, I murmured, say it cleanly, with paper. By evening, thunder cracked open the Baton Rouge sky. Spanish moss swung like a curtain losing patience. The lights flickered. My files glowed soft in their folder stack. A fortress of ordinary truth. The family chat pinged again. Bryony had posted a clip thanking her grind and God, not her elder. I turned the phone face down. The Lord hears the truth, I said to the room. Even when folks perform it, the house felt solid around me, loyal. I made tea, placed one pen across the binder's spine, my quiet signal that the plan was written, not shouted, for bed. I opened notes, unsent one last time. I polished the line that would end this farce when the time came. Thanks for confirming. I'll cancel all the auto payments. Then added a softer close. Take care. Tuesday's reminder blinked on my screen. Receipts and Ruth Ann. I shut the laptop, listened to the rain drum steady against the window, and felt the resolve rise in my chest like breath before speech. Lightning stitched the sky, and my pen lay across the binder like a gavel I hadn't swung. Yet. Tuesday started cold. the kind of air that stiffens your fingers before the sun can warm them. I dressed in my navy coat, tucked my legacy binder under my arm, and drove to the community bank. Ruth Ann Pike was already behind the counter, her glasses perched low. "Morning, Miss Zelma," she said. "Let's keep it simple and clean." I nodded. We sat in her small office surrounded by framed photos of church picnics and certificates. She printed the statements one by one, my accounts, their shared access, every courtesy payment I'd made over the past year. Each small deduction matched their new habits, a trip, a gadget, an upgrade. "You were feeding 2 households," Ruth Ann said gently. I smiled without bitterness. "Not anymore." She showed me how to set up alerts, how to pause joint permissions without causing noise. I left with a manila envelope thick with proof and the quiet satisfaction of standing on firm ground again. Back home. I cleared the dining table and spread everything out like pieces of a puzzle that finally made sense. Folders labeled utilities, mortgage, repairs, internet, and HOA covered the wood. My laptop hummed as I mirrored it all digitally. Folder name, legacy_accounts/2023_winter. I copied every screenshot from the self-made video, noting timestamps beside each corresponding payment. The list grew long. Plumber fee, closing balance, inspection cost. I typed a clean index page titled "Support Provided by Zelma Grady," each bulletproof of what love had paid for. If you can't remember it, Sami Hachila told myself. Make sure the paper can... I took a photo of the binder's contents, uploaded it, and sat back. My house smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and resolve. The tablet chimed around noon. Talia's name appeared in blue bubbles. "Grandma, Mom says you forget things. Is that true?" I felt my throat tighten. I typed, "I write things down so the truth doesn't get lonely." She sent a sad face. Then, "I miss you," I replied. "I miss you too. There's lemon cake in my freezer with your name on it." 3 dots blinked, then disappeared. Message likely filtered. I didn't chase it. Children shouldn't have to carry adult weight. Still, I saved the chat, not to weaponize, but to remember softness in a world turning sharp. Children should never be bridges for grown folks' pride, I said quietly to the room. As afternoon slipped in, I opened my notes. Unsent folder. There it was. The line waiting since Sunday. "Thanks for confirming." I added the second sentence. "I'll cancel all the auto payments." I deleted the extra punctuation, made it clean and final. My hands didn't shake. I reviewed the courtesy list. Electricity, water, internet, HOA. Each verified under my name. Timing mattered. I decided to send after business hours, when distractions fade and truth rings louder. "Don't raise your voice," I whispered. "Raise your boundaries." Before sunset, I checked the last details. Account alerts toggled on. Screenshot saved. I sealed the Declan January plan envelope, photographed front and back, and placed it in my fireproof pouch. A new cover page read "Notice of Courtesy Payment Termination." Personal boundaries. The house was calm, TV off, kettle warm. I poured tea, breathing evenly. Knowing the difference between anger and clarity, my courage didn't feel grand. It felt organized. By nightfall, I sat at the same table where the message had first broken me. The lamp cast a circle of gold on the wood. I opened the family thread, pasted the 2 sentences, and hit send. The screen blinked. Delivered. Then read. 3 dots appeared. Vanished, then returned again. I didn't open the replies. I took a screenshot and saved it in legacy_texts/2023-12. My lungs filled deep, the air steady. "When folks show you where you stand," I said softly, "stand firm on your own floor." The typing bubbles kept stuttering like a bad conscience trying to find its words. At 11:12 that night, my phone lit up on the nightstand. Declan Vance calling. I watched it glow and fade into voicemail. One boundary honored. The second ring came right after. Bryony's name this time. Then the family thread began to hum like rain on metal. Notifications stacked fast, pings, dings, and desperate tone changes. I flipped the phone face down, turned off the kettle, dimmed the lamp, and let the house breathe. 4 counts in, 4 counts out. If it's urgent, it's documented. I told myself. If it's fury, it can cool. I opened Do Not Disturb, left only 911 unmuted. Beside the bed, I placed a notepad labeled Night Ledger and wrote the first entry. 11:12 p.m. Declan call 1. Then I lay back down, calm like Sunday pew silence. By 11:40, the calls hit double digits. At 12:03, my screen looked like a storm siren. Messages flashed. Answer me. You made the lights go out. Mom, pick up, please. I wrote each one with time and sender. Screenshots clean and clear. Emotion would only smudge the record. I didn't answer any. Silence isn't absence. It's strategy. I slipped the phone in the drawer, turned the house alarm on, and set my slippers by the bed. When they drum the panic, I whispered. Keep your own rhythm. The clock ticked steady. My pulse matched it beat for beat. A sound outside pulled me to the curtain. Bryony's voice cut through the drizzle, sharp as glass. So, across the street, Imogen Rayner's porch light blinked on. I saw Bryony pacing, phone in hand, shouting words meant to travel. You ruined us, old lady. Imogen's camera caught it all. A minute later, my phone buzzed with her text. A short video, time-stamped and clear. I typed back. Save that for me. Sugar, thank you. No gossip, just business. I filed the clip under legacy_video/porchcam and noted the weather. Light drizzle. 12:11 a.m. Evidence, not emotion. A thud startled me near 12:30. On the stoop sat a small white box tied with a pink ribbon. I waited 5 minutes before opening the door. Inside lay Talia's charm bracelet, the one I'd given her last Christmas, and a blank card. No name, no message, just silence pretending to be peace. I photographed everything, box, bracelet, envelope, then sealed them in a bag labeled returned. 12:32 a. A child is not a courier for adult spite, I said softly. Placing it on the hallway table, I relocked the door. The hum of the fridge steadied me, its rhythm reminding me that life goes on, even when love takes a bruise. I moved to the dining table, opened my laptop, and began typing. Notice of courtesy payment termination. Each account listed, water, power, internet, HOA. Bullet points clean as courtroom minutes, I added. All future invoices must be paid by account holders of record. Attached receipts, statements, and the porch clip metadata for context. Emails scheduled for 8:01 a.m. Then I printed signed copies, laid them in a neat stack for my morning run to the bank. Do it once. Do it clean. Sleep well, I murmured. Before returning to bed, I sent one text to Declan. Payments I covered have ended. Review your accounts by Friday. No sermon, no sting. I didn't message Bryony. She wasn't my responsibility. Screenshot saved. Phone silenced again. I won't chase a storm. I thought, I'll board my windows. By 2 o'clock, a.m. Cousin texts poured in. Call your son. They're losing it. Fix this. I didn't. Bryony's social media turned frantic. Cryptic prayers, humble captions, and soft focus filters. I captured the posts, filed them under reactions. Post notice. A church friend messaged. Standing with you. I replied, thank you, I'm fine. My ledger stayed my anchor while their words spiraled. At 7:59 a.m., the printer warmed. I sealed each envelope, checked signatures, and waited. When the clock turned 8:01, the emails sent. The printer hummed like a hymn. My phone buzzed on the dresser. Ignored. I stepped onto the porch, felt the cold air slide into my lungs, and whispered, order restored. Inside, the house felt taller, as if dignity had straightened its spine. At 8:12, one last ping came through. Power's out. I smiled at the phrasing. Truth often sounds like confession. I woke to a quiet house and sunlight slanting across my kitchen table. My phone buzzed against the counter. 98 missed calls since midnight. I didn't answer any. A text from Sister Geneva at church said, praying for your peace, Mrs. Elma. I typed back, I'm upright and grateful. That was enough. I made oatmeal, sweetened it with a little honey, and slid yesterday's receipts into my legacy binder. The 8:01 a.m.'s confirmations were all green. Auto pays stayed off. Accounts clean. The family thread scrolled on without me. I didn't look. The older I get, the more I believe peace isn't silence. It's selective hearing. You can't control the storm, Zelma, I told myself. Just the shutters. By mid-morning, Imogene Rayner called, her voice bright. Zelma, sugar, you won't believe it. And that porch videos made the neighborhood page. I opened Facebook, and there it was. Bryony pacing, yelling my name. The caption read, "Is this who I think it is?" Comments came quick, not cruel. Neighbors asking for context, noting timestamps. Nobody speculated. They cited facts. I didn't like or reply. I saved PDFs of every comment and URL, stored in legacy_video/community. Then Imogene texted, "Need anything from the store?" I smiled. "Thank you, sugar, I'm fine." Community eyes tell the truth better than any headline. I phoned her back later, thanked her for the clip, and reminded, "Keep the originals safe. If folks ask, send them my way. Truth, once seen in daylight, doesn't need defending." By noon, confirmation emails rolled in, the HOA. Responsibility reverted to occupants effective immediately. The water and internet providers followed, polite but final. I printed them all, stapled to my notice of courtesy payment termination sheet. When another email mentioned an old landscaping fine, I noted "not mine, record only," and filed it. One by one, I called each service desk, confirmed the transitions, wrote down names, times, and reference numbers. Paper remembers better than people, I whispered. Every older viewer should know that. Around 1 o'clock I checked Bryony's channel. The #self-made video wouldn't load. Comments piled up. Is this the same woman from that porch video? I didn't touch a thing. Screenshots captured everything, the questions, the silence. The buffering logo turning like justice with good timing. A caterer from their housewarming wrote, "Miss Zelma, I can confirm your payment if you need it." I responded kindly. "Hold that thought, dear. If it's needed, I'll ask proper..." I created a new file called Public Narrative versus Receipts. A good record doesn't argue. It just sits there, unbothered, waiting for light. By 2. My phone showed a missed call from the school nurse. The voicemail said, "Talia's not feeling well, needs pickup." My heart paused. I called back. "This is her grandmother," I said gently. "I'm not the custodial parent, but if they can't be reached, I'll meet you in the lobby. No hallway scenes, please." I texted Declan. "School called about tea. Please handle." 10 minutes later, the school confirmed. Parent reached, child picked up. I filed the log under legacy_school. Boundaries don't mean cold hearts. They mean warm hearts behind locked gates. At 3, Ruth Ann called from the bank. "Zelma, your alerts worked. 2 small pulls declined." I jotted the times, printed the confirmation. "Good system," she said. I thanked her. "God bless a truthful ledger?" She laughed. Promised to prep fraud watch notes in case things got noisy. We scheduled a Friday check-in, followed by lunch, grown woman planning, not drama. The sun leaned low when I heard a car outside. Declan stood on my porch. No Bryony this time. Hoodie, no smile. I cracked the door just enough for the chain to glint. "Mom, can we talk?" he said. "We are talking," I answered. "The lights. Courtesies ended. Bills are yours." His jaw tightened. "Bryony says you made us look bad." I met his eyes. "I didn't make anything. I stopped paying for the stage." He looked down. I almost softened. Then remembered every overdraft marked "family help." "Call me," I said, "when you're ready to be a father, not play one online." Then I closed the door. By 5, I dropped envelopes at the HOA office. The clerk stamped each copy, neat and formal. A board member nodded from the hallway. "Have a good day, Miss Grady." "Always," I said, taking my proof. Outside, the air was crisp, carrying the smell of pine. Systems were doing their work. "Be polite, be precise. Bring paper," I murmured, heading home. Evening settled easy. Imogene stopped by with a casserole. No talk of videos, just supper. We shared lemon pound cake for dessert. "You sleep easy, Zelma," she said, heading back across the street. I wrapped leftovers for tomorrow, wrote her a thank you card with today's date, small courtesies, stamped and sealed. Before bed, I reviewed each folder. Bank, HOA, utilities, community, school, everything lined up. The family thread still buzzed, but I didn't enter it. Silence tonight was its own language. I whispered to my husband's photo. We kept the lights on here. Love. The street was calm, my home steady. Just before I turned off the lamp, my phone blinked with a new message from an unknown number. Miss Grady, I think you should see this contract. At 6:11 that morning, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Attached was a PDF labeled closing packet, Vance Property. I opened it on my laptop, not my phone. Older eyes need space for the truth. The first page looked ordinary until I reached the gift letter. My name should have been there, but it read, Brian E. Vance. My bank transfer ID sat 2 pages later like a fingerprint on someone else's check. I enlarged the view, tracing each timestamp, one line of truth under a pile of fiction. I printed, annotated, and saved the full file to Legacy House Vance closing docs. Then I made a discrepancy sheet with every contradiction, numbered, dated, calm. Don't chase the fire, I whispered. Follow the smoke. I dialed Ruth Ann Pike at the bank. Baby, I said, I've got a packet that needs daylight. By 9, I was in her glass conference room. We spread papers side by side, her copies, my receipts, their PDF. Ruth Ann leaned forward, pen in hand. See that notary seal, she said. It's dated 2 days before your transfer cleared. That's not just sloppy, that's impossible. I nodded, quiet but steady. Together we drafted an affidavit of support provided and attached a timeline exhibit. Signed and witnessed by policy. Ruth Ann called compliance, reading off details without flinching, potential misrepresentation, closing disclosure irregularities. I didn't add emotion. The paper did that part. We scheduled a noon call with the title office. Speakerphone. Recorded line. Before leaving, Ruth Ann looked at me and said, Miss Zelma, they picked the wrong woman to underestimate. At noon sharp, the call began. The title clerk sounded rehearsed until I started listing numbers, dates, wire amounts, check IDs. My tone was calm. Each fact laid like stones across water. Ruth Ann forwarded the full packet mid-call, attachments verified. Silence followed as the clerk scrolled through her copy. That date shouldn't predate the transfer, she said, voice shrinking. We'll review internally. Do that, I replied. And send your findings in writing. I ended with what my grandmother used to say, let the record be the record. Ruth Ann gave my hand a squeeze. Justice, when neat, doesn't need noise. By early afternoon, I stopped by the HOA office. The young clerk printed my updated ledger. Everything's been reassigned. Miss Grady, your name cleared from all balances. A board member, silver-haired, kind-eyed, signed the confirmation. Appreciate the clarity, he said. I requested an official letter of non-responsibility, retroactive to my notice date. He nodded. I slid the papers into my binder. Bank, HOA, title. They felt like armor, quiet, clean, and heavy enough to matter. Back home. I brewed tea and opened the family chat. I typed, title company has my affidavit and your closing packet with mismatched dates. Then a second line, all services remain your responsibility. I sent it, waited, then added to the extended family group. I fund what honors me. Merry Christmas. Typing bubbles jittered, then froze. A cousin sent back. Proud of you, Auntie. I smiled. Screenshot, saved, muted, boundaries documented in real time, no confetti required. By 3, Declan's car rolled up to the curb. He looked worn down, hands stuffed into his hoodie pocket. I stepped outside, sunlight behind me, Imogene's watering can clinking faintly across the street. Mom, he started. We messed up. I met his eyes. You have a ledger and a life. Fix both. He hesitated. What about Talia? I softened, just slightly. My door's open for her, not for chaos. From my folder, I pulled a list of agency contacts, utilities, HOA, title, and handed it over. By Friday, I said, handle it. He nodded, eyes wet but quiet. I turned back toward my porch. Boundaries. Once built, don't need fences. They stand on self-respect. As the day cooled, I sealed my legacy binder and placed it on the shelf beside my husband's worn Bible. 2 sturdy books that outlasted storms. I wrote Talia a postcard, a snowman. Simple, cheerful. Cake still in the freezer. Sweetheart, across the fence. Imogene waved. I packed her a bag of muffins with a note. Thank you for seeing, not judging. When the sun dropped low, the house glowed soft. No noise, no tension, just the hum of appliances and earned quiet. At dusk, my laptop chimed. A new email from the title company blinked on screen. I opened it. Slow and steady. 3 words stood alone in the reply. Corrections in process. I leaned back. Hands folded. For the first time in months, my shoulders didn't ache. Justice. When it finally arrives, doesn't shout. It signs, stamps, and moves on. Just as I closed my binder, another email arrived. This one not from the title company, but from a lawyer I hadn't heard from in years. The subject line read, Estate Revision. Urgent. My heart paused mid-beat. Whose estate? And why now? After all this time. End of part 1.